morning. Welcome to the Wednesday, February 18th meeting of the Harwich Council on Aging Board of Directors. It's thrown off because it says the 16th.
Yeah,
I
sorry.
think that was a typo.
No,
sorry.
it's
I noticed it, but I said, I think
I thought
that's
I'd
a
lost 2
Yeah.
days very quickly. So,
typo. I did.
and as required by open meeting law, you are hereby informed that the town will be video and audio taping as well as live broadcasting this public meeting. In addition, anyone in the audience who plans to video or audio tape this meeting must notify the chair prior to the start of the meeting. Caleb, the only one in the audience is Caleb, and he's video and audio taping this meeting, so we're all good. Call the meeting to order, and I'd ask for a motion of approval of the minutes from the previous meeting. So moved. Been moved.
Second.
That's second. Discussions, changes, alterations to those minutes? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's a vote. We have no one here for public comment. Caleb, do you have anything?
Nothing.
Okay, thank you. Before we get started, before I turn it over to Julie, I just wanted to take a moment. One of our very, very, very long-standing members of this committee and on the Facilities Committee, who's worked diligently on behalf of the Council on Aging, lost his wife a couple weeks ago. Ralph Smith, who cared for his wife for many, many years. So we offer our condolences on behalf of the board to Ralph and to his family. Julie, I'll go to you and I'll hold my comments till a little bit later.
Okay, sure. So, update on operations. The March-April newsletter went to print a couple weeks ago now. It is on track to be delivered early next week. We have been working with the publisher to really fine-tune the date that works best for us to get it to them so that they have enough time to print and deliver on time. And I think this month we aligned that pretty much perfectly, the ideal that we're looking for, so that's good. Just a quick announcement. A while back I was invited to attend a guardianship workshop, which is going to be held next week on Thursday and Friday, the 26th and 27th, all day Thursday, half day Friday. So it's being hosted by the Office of the Probate and Family Court, and their goal is to increase awareness of the guardianship process as it currently stands, and they want to talk about a new initiative that they're calling guardianship. I don't yet know exactly what that's going to entail. I will learn next week. But basically their goal is to talk about what the landscape currently looks like in Barnstable County. They want to identify some resources that we can tap into when we identify somebody who may need guardianship, what the gaps in services currently are, and then create some action plans to improve the process going forward. And the little bit I read about this guardianship initiative is that I'll learn more next week, but I think the purpose is to give more control back to the participant in the early stages of guardianship. So to the extent that they can, to identify someone that they would like to be appointed as their guardian. And if they don't have someone in their life, what their goals would be to have for that role. And of course, guardianship means that individual is no longer able to make decisions for themselves. That's the purpose of assigning a guardian, but they still are able to articulate their wants and concerns and needs. So they want to, the probate office wants to hear more from people in that process.
Hold on that. Unless you've
And
dealt
Richard,
with
does
it.
this, do we need to move this?
No, it's
there?
good. It's good there. I went through the guardianship process about 3 years ago, and it was onerous. It was, we had an attorney for myself. I care for a sibling with Alzheimer's, and we had to provide an attorney for my sibling as well, whose goal is not to get the guardianship. And yet we needed the guardianship because in that case, the sibling was no longer able to make reasonable decisions on their own. It was a long process, it was an expensive process to get done, and it's difficult, and we're now 3.5 years into the process. And I think it's great to understand what the needs are of a guardianship versus powers of attorney versus what happens in someone's life, and God forbid something happens to that person that you are the guardian of, with everything they have, bank accounts, etc. This is an area that we're going to see more and more people trying to utilize and not understanding it. So I look forward to bringing back a lot of information on that, because it's, as people who are cared for pass, things that you don't even realize, bank accounts, power of attorney stops at the death of the person. So there's nothing that you can do to access funds for burial, for whatever cremation, whatever it might be, you lose that. So it is an area for our seniors that I think we need to really explore and to provide some guidance for, guardianship, knowing what the differences are and what the implications are and being prepared for it. And I just encourage people to plan. If people are early in diagnosis, to have those discussions while people can still have them.
Right.
I'm 3.5 years in and we're long past those, those discussions. So I'm very anxious to have you bring back a lot of information for that. I think it's something that as an organization we could assist with. So, thank you.
And it's not frequent, but of course we do get questions from families, usually very early in the process. What can I set up ahead of time, like you said? But when it comes up and there are no plans in place, families want to know, what should I expect? So I think this will give us some more tools to be able to guide them better.
Great.
Okay. My other update, I did mention, I sent out an announcement to everyone. The website that I had mentioned about a month ago that I was working on, it is live now.
Sorry.
I don't know if you've had a chance
I
to
did.
check it out.
Good
but
job.
Thank you. So I certainly consider it a work in progress. I intend to update it frequently, but even what's there currently probably could be improved in some way. So if you have suggestions, comments, definitely want to hear them.
And Julie, for those who may be watching, if the public has comments,
Oh, absolutely.
would love to hear back
Yeah.
from them as well. Just a quick question, who is updating and how often?
I am updating it. So far, I've been updating at least once a week. Really, every time someone gives me a suggestion that I realize, I should improve that right now. It's very easy to go in and make updates. Even to add something new to the website, if I needed to add a new page, it doesn't take that long. I can do it in an hour or so usually. And then my intention is to update a list of our programs at least once a month, and then a comprehensive list of the programs, the special programs that are coming up for that month, and then throughout the month throw up a flyer highlighting a particular program that we want to call attention to. That would go on the main page.
Are you going to be training staff to assist with that?
I will be, yes, I will be working with Rosa to hand things over to her, but I feel a little ownership right now, to be honest. But of course,
that's right.
we need,
I understand that. Years ago, many years ago, there was a change in leadership, and the problem was just one person was doing everything.
Yeah.
And there was no policy, there were no books on how to do things. We had a crisis situation occur, and well, there's a policy book in the closet, and there wasn't. And that's the danger of one person handling it. You're out sick,
Sure.
something happens, nothing gets updated. So I think it's important that you do some of that cross-training for one or two members of your staff so they can do that.
Fortunately, it is a very easy platform to work with. It's a website building platform, and they make it very easy. You can drag and drop. You have a menu to say what you want to add. It's very easy to delete things. It is really easy to work with. I think the process of building it certainly was intensive, but to update it is something that I can train someone on pretty easily.
And finally, the last thing is, have you coordinated with the town IT so that it's secure?
So there's no, there certainly is no identifiable information on it. what I haven't been able to do, so I on the website, which is, by the way, harwichcoa.com for anyone listening. And then we have a couple of other addresses that point to that in case someone makes a typo or doesn't, thinks it might be something slightly different. So I have the website linked to our town page, so that people can easily go back to the town page, ultimately find the agenda and minutes, for example. So what I have been told is that as long as we are not, we're not publishing photos, like where someone has not given their consent, right? Or collecting or publishing any personal identifying information, which of course we wouldn't. I wouldn't want to do that whether it was allowed or not. That we are in good shape.
Much more concerned of people able to hack it and manipulate it and do things. That's where the safety factor comes in.
So when you sign up for the platform and you establish what your domain is going to be and also what other domains are going to point there, you have the option to add various levels of security package, and I opted to get the highest level of security.
What platform is it?
Wix.com.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay.
What was it again? I'm sorry, I missed that.
So the platform that I used is called Wix,
W-I-X,
W-I-X.
Okay.
And then the website, to go to our website, it's harwichcoa.com.
And you have two other names as well.
Yeah,
HarwichCOA.org,
and then harwichcouncilonaaging.com. So if someone doesn't know our website, they can pretty easily find it by typing in what they think it might be.
Well, it was interesting. At our last breakfast last week, we had 3 men come for the first time. The 2 I had invited, they didn't know about anything. They weren't aware of it in the newsletter. And so I think it's more important than ever that we get some information out to people, that we have a website that people can access very easily, our newsletter to sign up for. The guys that came had a wonderful time, and they're looking forward to coming back again. So I think that it's part of this outreach of communication that we're talking about. It blows me away that people are not aware. And one of the guys has been in town now 5 years. No idea. So I think it's important that we continue focusing on communication. So it's a great start.
I will say I was impressed by the amount of traffic we got right away. I expected it to be a very slow moving process for people to find us. Rosa updated our Facebook page to make an announcement. We have a new website, click here, right? And you can track the amount of traffic you have, how many unique visitors, how many times they've gone back multiple times. So there have been hundreds of unique visitors already. There are obviously ways to contact us through the website, to sign up for our newsletter by email. That's a very simple process, just collecting name and email address, because I want it to be quick for people, to not have to put in too much information. And then there's a way to sign up to become a member, to give all of your information, sign up for the printed newsletter if you want that. So I've gotten many submissions to that already. A lot of names that were not in our database. They're new people who are signing up for our digital newsletter. So that's been very exciting.
I think it'd be great, after another month, next month, that you can always print a report from your websites, where the traffic's going, what pages are they landing on. And I'd love to see some of that traffic data, to see where they are going and where and if we can improve, and if it's being utilized and if it's effective. So thank you, Julie.
Can I ask one other question? I think you already really did answer it though. You did a nice job, because I went on the website. It was good. I could find information quickly. It was easy. Great. But you also do a lot of fun stuff. And I often wondered if you could take pictures, like let's say you had a Valentine's Day party or something, and could you take pictures and sometimes highlight some of the cool stuff that had happened? But I know you need to get permission for the photos.
So there's
Is that a pain in the neck?
There's a blog page.
Yeah.
It says news is what I call it, news. So you have the option to publish like a photo and just a short description of what you did, right? Or a long description. So we had some photos from our holiday gift gift
Yeah,
drive,
yeah.
where, you know, we've got pictures of like all the
exactly.
gifts arranged in a room before they go out.
Okay.
So, you know, I posted that.
Yeah,
And just a little description of what the gift drive was, how many people we reached, to kind of celebrate what we did. We had put together an infographic about scam awareness that was recommended from local police departments, you know, put our name on it. So I posted that there and, you know, put some notes there.
Yeah.
So it's a way to talk about what you're doing. Yeah.
Yeah. I was just worried about the pictures, but I think you had answered the question earlier, so.
One question
Pictures
I
of
have-
people.
Yeah, that I'm not sure, and I haven't even tried it yet, is when Rosa does a post on social media from Harwich COA, is it shareable?
It is.
Okay, 'cause that's important. You know, if we're doing an event, so forth, that we do want to share it, that we can make it shareable. Okay, great. What's next?
All right, so volunteer updates. Rosa and Saranya attended a volunteer fair here at the community center on January 29th. I walked by when it first started, sort of walked around to see how many people were here. There were a lot of people here visiting the fair to find information about volunteer opportunities. The community center was kind enough to give us a booth outside the multi-purpose room. So the event was held in the multi-purpose room. The different organizations had their booths like wrapped around the inside of the room, right? And the community center gave us a table outside the room, so everyone walking in could walk by our table. And I was there for a few minutes. A lot of people did stop by before they went into the room. We gave out several volunteer applications that day. Rose and Saranya both talked about the opportunities, Saranya mainly focusing on the Friendly Visitor Program. And we've had some folks get back in touch with us since then, so that's great. We have our this month's volunteer social today, later this afternoon at 2 o'clock. You're still welcome to come in. We always have a little bit extra in case we have folks drop in. And then the longer update, we can talk a little about the spring volunteer luncheon. So I did send out an announcement. We were able to secure a date and time with the restaurant we chose. So that will be Thursday, April 2nd, with a start time of noon. And we'll work out, you know, when we want the food to come out and when the speakers will be there and all that, like we usually do.
What is the timing on that? Would do 11:30 time do we do that?
So we planned for the restaurant right now to start the event at noon, but we could back up to 11:30 if we want to do, if we feel that's necessary for the food to get out on time when people are hungry.
It's again, for a lot of the seniors, their eating time, once you start getting past 12:30, 1 o'clock, it gets late. You know, so if we want to say we want to eat at 12:30, we need to know what time we need people to get there. So we need it probably 11:30 and then, and probably I wouldn't, after the last few, I would make sure we should have food served in a half an hour if people are arriving.
Okay.
What do you've been involved, you guys,
Yeah,
what do you
that's
think?
true, that's true.
That's true.
Yeah.
So before we do the present, like.
Well, I think if you're greeting people as they come in, people chat with you, a little sort of fellowship time with people, but then within a half an hour of the start time, if we start at 11:30, we should be serving at noon, and then by 12:30, people are done.
Okay.
And we can do the speeches at that time.
Okay.
I just think that would,
Yeah, we've done it opposite,
Yeah.
and I agree. I think that
people want to
probably
eat.
works.
Keep
They
it
get antsy
moving.
if they're not eating, so, and then while they're having coffee and dessert, we can do the official part of the business.
Okay.
Jen, any input in that?
No, I mean, because I don't know how it went last year. I just know the year before it was the whole food. They had to do it reverse because the food was coming up
right,
so
right.
delayed.
Right, exactly, no.
So
They,
the timing, I don't know.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
But that's what we can control with the restaurant.
Yeah.
You know, to have them and to let them know we need the food out
Yeah.
at, you know, if we're at 11:30, noontime food comes out.
It was the same manager from that year to the next year, and he did remember what happened, and he was he assured us it would not happen again, and it was out to the minute on time. And it is the same manager again that we're working with, so
No,
so he's familiar with what we do, and
Great.
he's happy to have us back. So Angie, Rosa, and I are gonna meet on February 25th at 10 a.m. to really dig into the planning of that. You know, we sort of divvy up some tasks, start talking about how we're gonna create the invitation list, etc. The Friends are contributing again. They are giving us $1,750 towards the event. And we will cover the rest from our formula grant, possibly pulling a little from the gift account if I want to balance that.
and just don't forget, as we do dignitaries, and it'll be the basically first month of the new town administrator.
Right.
And that, you know, if you're doing whatever it is, committee center, director, whoever, but the dignitaries that we invite, make
Oh,
sure
yeah.
they're there.
Yeah,
So, police
absolutely.
chief, fire chief, et cetera.
So obviously, like you said, the town administrator will be still getting his feet wet, but he's already been reaching out to all the department heads, including me. He's planning to set up a meeting relatively, as reasonably early as he can with everybody. So from what I've seen, I think he will be happy to come and meet people.
Great.
Yeah. With the staff, I just sent out a call for recommendations for our Volunteer of the Year for the Provost Award. So we're gonna be talking about that soon. That's my favorite part.
That's wonderful. And we still will invite Judy and family.
Of course.
Great.
Yeah. All right, so volunteer, any other comments or questions about the recognition event? Okay. Our volunteer needs. I think last month, I mentioned that we're looking for people to lead craft workshops. I did not get any responses to that, so we're still looking for someone. You have to be a little crafty, enjoy working with arts and crafts, but we make this for beginners. So, and we'll supply even ideas and supplies. So if anyone likes to get their hands into some crafts, we welcome talking to you. We are also still looking for peer tech volunteers. We're sort of always hoping to bring people on to do that because we do have a lot of requests. And right now it's a small pool of volunteers, so we're having to call on them frequently. So if we could spread that around, that'd be great. And of course, always looking for more medical drivers. We do every year not a recertification, but we update everybody's paperwork, make sure insurance is up to date and registration, things like that. We do a recheck of Corey's. These are things that the town would like us to do every year. So we're gonna begin that process relatively soon. So if someone wants to come on, this is a great time to do it. All right, so that's everything for my report, and then we could look to old business.
Yeah, let's start with B on the joint meeting.
Sure.
We actually had great representation from the COA at that meeting. Julie was there, John was there. Angie, you were there, you're chair of the facilities. I was there. The facilities committee actually had a good representation, and the Friends actually had good representation. I don't know if there was a conflict, whatever, but there was a lack of representation from Rec and Youth. But one of the things, and Julie, I'll turn it over to you for your view. Bottom line is they want to continue meeting as an organization because there have been some requests for space for use, by different groups for the summer, and where do we fall within that? And as our website gets better, newsletter gets better, as we're looking at more and more programs, there's definitely a need for space here. And I think you did a great job chairing the meeting and from facilities, and I would like to see that as a monthly or bi-monthly meeting of the basically users of this building. So, Julie, do you want to share in here?
Sure. So my I guess general comments about space in the building are that for our special programs, like when we have a speaker or a class, we do have sufficient space for that. We're always able to find a room. The community center is great working with us to find a time. We often get our first choice of time. If for some reason there's a conflict and we don't get that, we'll get our second choice. They really try work with us to make that work. The rooms are big enough to accommodate the number of people that come to those kind of programs. What we run into issues with are our fitness classes. Fitness classes are very popular. People want to come exercise, they want to stay active. And the costs for our classes are low compared to what you can find sort of on the market, so to speak. We offer quite a few free classes, many more free classes than we did 2 years ago. I've worked on trying to offer some things at no cost to attract people to come to the COA. Obviously, a free class is very attractive. We get a lot. We do get a lot of participants coming to that, including new people, that was the goal. So, long story short, we don't have enough room to accommodate people for fitness classes. What we've done is, for a few things that are popular, I've added a second session. So, for example, chair yoga. We can put 30 chairs in the room safely and still have enough room for people to do what they need to do. Those 30 slots would fill up within an hour, and we would have a long wait list. So I added a second class of chair yoga right after. So now people can choose which class they want to go to. And now at this point, the second class is filling up. So the question is, do we add a third, or are we just going to have to work with what we have? But if we had a much bigger room, we would be able to pay that instructor for just 1 hour instead of 2, or maybe a slightly higher rate because they're keeping their eye on everybody, but it certainly wouldn't be double the cost. So it would be cost saving for us to have a bigger room. We'd be able to accommodate people. We'd be able to have a better registration process, because right now, it's like getting concert tickets. You have to call at a certain time. I hate that it has to work that way, but we want to be fair and give everyone the same chance. So I would love to never be in a situation where we have to turn people away from a class they want to attend.
2 things on that, and Angie, I would like you to also comment on it. There's an opportunity as we embark upon a website, is looking at online registration for some things, which might be able to take the onus off of, if someone calls in, a staff member needs to take a call, or a volunteer needs to take a call, and then put the information down, register it. If there's a way that we can look at it, because the space is not getting any easier. We had some general discussions about
What we
sort of
could do.
pie in the sky things, but that's not a reality right now. But I think it's great. I love these so-called lost leaders bringing people in, because they're discovering the building, they're discovering COA, they're discovering recreation and youth, which is not just youth. I mean, there's so many senior programs that Rec puts on as well. I love the fact that people are discovering the building and discovering the services that are here, but we need to sort of focus it as best as we can. Do you want to comment about the meeting? You chaired it.
Yeah, no, I thought it was great from all the people that were there. And space is the biggest thing. And we were thinking about maybe looking at basement. We're looking at a lot of options. And I think parking's another issue we got to think about too.
It's definitely been filling
I
up a lot
parked
more
illegal
often.
today, so I know how it, especially on Wednesdays, it's really packed. So I think we need to look at a number of things.
And I think that was the discussion of, we need to continue talking.
Yeah.
Because there are a number of major issues out there. And we will make it available to the entire board, anyone who wishes to attend that meeting. I think it was 5 o'clock we did it in the afternoon, so that people
No,
were
I
all
didn't
working.
write it on my calendar, I totally.
Yeah.
thought
But it's
We'll forgive you.
it's a good discussion, and I
Yeah.
think Julie's made a commitment to continue. I will go.
Yeah.
I think John, and obviously you have to, because you're in both. But I think it's important. On that same note, I watched your last meeting. Sheila attended as our representative to the facilities committee. And first thing she was asked, do you have a report from the COA? So we need to be able to send Sheila with a report of what we've done, basically with our minutes and what we've discussed, that it might pertain to the general facility as a whole. So
It might be helpful if I gave some data on the number of classes that fill up,
Yeah.
how many people are on our wait
Absolutely,
list.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the discussion we'll get into a little bit later, in terms of the needs analysis. And having that information is always good. You know, because as we bring it back to facilities, say, here's where we have to go 2 or 3 classes instead of having it once, and where can we do it? And for those who are watching, as Angie just mentioned, you know, the idea of downstairs, there's a lot of storage down there, but there's nothing really organized. And, you know, if something were like to happen downstairs, it would be probably a capital item. And the town, as of the select board meeting of the night, are not real anxious to be taking on a whole lot of new capital projects. So if something like that were to come out as a result of the joint meetings, we'd need to be able to find a way to finance it.
Yeah.
So,
And I was gonna say, I think Carolyn was gonna try to schedule the next group meeting
Yeah.
on, just as a reminder,
Yeah.
thanks.
on the 24th,
Yes.
Tuesday
she-
24th, and she
Yeah.
was gonna try for 1 o'clock, because she
Okay.
thought that would be easier for a lot of the different groups,
Yes, as far as.
as opposed
Is
to
that
last
the-
time we did it at
That's
5.
what, that's what I've
this
got.
time- yeah.
Sorry,
So
you can't make it.
We'll see what the day looks like.
I was gonna add an update for that, so I was disappointed to see the date, cause I had a planned day off for that,
Sorry, no, we'll be there. A couple of us
okay.
will be there.
So
anyway.
I had something that day, I'm trying to move it,
But if
cause
you
I would
can't-
like to be there.
And if you can't, the data that you were talking about,
Yeah.
we'll provide it.
Okay.
You know, we can bring it, John, or, you know, whoever wants to attend, we'll bring it in. I think we're gonna continue meeting.
Oh, sorry.
I
What
don't,
time was that?
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock.
She was trying to put it.
1 p.m.
in your impression, we're gonna continue meeting, is that correct?
Yes, this was just a kickoff
Yeah,
last time
yeah,
around,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
it went well, even though we didn't have everybody, but
Yeah.
at least we got some
That's
stuff
good.
out.
Your view of the meeting?
It's good. It would have been nice if Rec was there to represent, but, you know, we discussed some different possibilities, and it's been a long time for Caroline to discuss these and think about things. And the basement is a possible thing, but like you said, it's a capital outlay, you know, plus the setup of egress and all that good stuff. It was a start.
And what came from the meeting is that the next meeting on the 24th, we're gonna take a tour of downstairs. And so we can throw that on the table of, you know, what can be done, what are the possibilities, basically. And I think it's great. The building is bursting at the
Yeah,
seams.
which is a good thing.
It's a wonderful thing that people are using it, you know. Back when we were proposing it years and years and years and years ago, it was like, well, will people come? Well, if they build it. they
Well, you'd
will come.
almost have to combine whatever extra room you have with extra parking.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know, because
That's
it's
the
really
problem,
difficult.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's when you look out to the left of the parking lot, that's septic system that's out there. And I don't know, when people put in septic systems, there are a number of types. In order to do parking on it, you'd need to have weight-bearing
Yeah.
components in the septic. I don't know if that's something that, again, a discussion that should come up.
Yeah.
You know, if not, where else could we do some parking? And across the street, they use the fields.
Right.
They're used, but what could be done? You know, and I think it's, again, continuing discussion. And that's great. I think it's wonderful that we need more parking.
Right.
Because people are utilizing this building, utilizing our services, using the facility services and all of the community events that occur here. You know, goodness, the last spaghetti dinner, it was unbelievable, the people that were here. It was packed, you know, and that's people getting together. That's truly creating community within the community center, so.
I just have one addition to, on the topic.
Yep.
So, like you said, the Friends had a good representation there. I think they were excited to see this happening
Yep.
because this is, the space in the building is something they've been talking about for a long time that they would like to support. They recognize the need for more space. I've talked about I've
Sure.
mentioned the fitness class issue before. And they feel that that's something they can contribute to. It's something that has a real, tangible, immediate benefit. So they had their board meeting last week. We talked a little bit about that, and they're on board to see what we come up with, and are excited to be able to be a part of planning that. So it's good to know we have their support.
It was a good meeting. We'll go back to, let's continue on with our needs assessment. We had some good discussions last month about that, and when we get into the whole day of resource guide, it was sort of a general acceptance that we just need a rack card and not an entire guide that's being done. And from our standpoint, anyone thoughts on that? I think we came to a consensus on that. Anyone think differently?
I think that's a great idea, and a rack card is something that I have been wanting to create and just sort of haven't gotten to.
Sure.
I've put some other marketing materials together. Actually, I wanted to share that. We have a magnet now focusing on transportation.
Those are great. I'd like to see one
Nice.
in every
Yeah.
refrigerator in town.
That's nice.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
Julie,
Excellent.
does your team have access to Canva?
Oh, yeah, and we have the pro version.
Yeah.
I feel like I am a pro by now.
Sorry, what is Canva?
Canva is basically a graphic design
Okay,
tool,
oh, okay.
an app, and that, for instance, I will do my marketing for my real estate on Canva.
Okay.
It's simple, and it's now with the AI component, there's so much that you can do for it. So rather than hiring a graphic designer to do something and sending it out, you can literally do it in-house now.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, it's a great app.
So, yeah, we've had a brochure for a while, but I agree, condensing that, because we tried to be relatively comprehensive with the brochure to really list, maybe not, not all of what we offer, but the majority of what we offer. So finding a way to condense that onto a rack card has been a goal of mine, but, I like to advertise everything we do, so it's hard to choose, but
Sure.
we can do it.
Like some of the major things that need to go on, it's something, we can bring in and we can kick it around at some point. But I think it's a record that can go anywhere. Chamber of Commerce, go to the library, go to the churches, can go everywhere, and have them available. We can do, the more that actually you print, the less expensive it comes per unit. If we decide to print 2,000, 2,500, whatever it might be. And then it's a matter of distribution, getting it out there. And we can do that, talking to volunteers as well. The other long discussion was on social media. And I think that the staff has started, with the website. It's a great opportunity to do that. There's so many people who are on social media today. I mean, it's mind-boggling how many are out there, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, whatever it might be, that we are promoting. And for those who say, well, seniors don't use technology, that's not true.
They use it.
They most certainly do. And I think we need to have a presence on it, and that's why the idea of sharing something, if you are on social media and you see something from COA, just share it with a comment. Hey, I attended last time, it was a great event. I would love to, and we should ask in our volunteer recognition, do people mind being in pictures? If we have to sign a waiver, we're gonna have waivers when they come in. But I think that's the type of thing, especially as we look for volunteers, when people see that in social media, oh my God, I see John, I know John. Oh, I know Ian. Oh, Jen was there. They like that affiliation. Oh my gosh, these people are involved there. They wanna get involved.
So what we've been doing with photos, so technically, the rules are, if you're in this building,
Yeah.
it's a public space,
Correct.
and we are allowed to take photos and post them. Obviously, we wanna be respectful of what people
course.
actually want.
Yeah.
So what we do a lot of times is, like, when we have an event in the multipurpose room, I'll stand in the back and get photos of
Right.
people's
Yep.
heads.
Yep.
And then when we have closer shots of, an individual or small group, it's easy to just ask those people, do you mind if we post that? And we get their consent and then throw it up.
We had one last week, it was a men's breakfast, and we ended up celebrating one of our members' 97th birthday.
Saw
Yeah,
that.
we saw
Yeah,
And see, that's the point.
Yeah.
So many people saw, commented. I
Yeah.
had 2 calls. What's the men's breakfast?
Yeah, that's nice.
See?
So it's an opportunity for us to get out there with people. And his daughter called me to say that was one, he hasn't stopped talking about it.
That's nice, yeah.
People want to feel involved.
Right.
And even those who are shut-ins, isolated, say, wow, look what's going on there. So I think anytime we have that opportunity to do it, we should do it. And it's got to be shared. And I think having a social media presence today is the most important thing you can do. in my business, we've changed from advertising in newspapers to social media. And that's what spurs business for us today. Do you guys use Trello at all for your stuff?
Yeah,
Do you?
I mean, we're not as active as I
Would like to
think we'd
be.
be. We'll get there.
Yeah,
I think the hard part is actually just remembering to take those photos and
Yeah.
maybe a little video clip
Yeah.
while we do the programs, because we're very focused on serving people, right?
Sure.
We're involved in the program, so it's a mindset, you know, to get into
Right.
the habit of just pulling out the camera and taking a couple of quick shots. Maybe finding a couple people that you're familiar with to say, hey, do you mind if
Sure.
we take a little,
Sure.
So we are working on, Rose is actually very good at that, so much better at that than I have been traditionally. So she's, you know, it is becoming a habit for her. She's doing it more and more, and she's been doing a great job updating our social media.
I throw it back at the table. It was a decent discussion. Do we feel that an increase in our social media presence from the COA is important?
Absolutely.
Definitely.
And I think at some point we need to look at a sort of a planned approach to it. You know, how are we doing it on a, you know, if you've got staff at events that, okay, staff member, that'll be part of your job that day. Take a few photos that we can utilize.
Yeah.
Because but having a policy to do it versus just, well, if we can, we will. So I think that's the things that we're looking at as we look at this needs assessment. Do policies need to be enacted to follow through with some of the things we're talking about? Thoughts?
It will increase our presence if you go social media. Because when I saw your picture, I said to myself, am I allowed to go with that? And I wasn't sure, so I didn't.
Yeah.
But now I know.
Share away.
Share.
Yeah, I mean, it's been there, you know, like I said, I think it seems like Rosa is becoming it's more frequent, you know, content, and that's the big part of what you need to do. You can't just post once a month and then think
Right.
it's gonna be active and people are gonna see the same information. So, you know, I think it looks like, yeah, so, you know, whether that's scheduling content, you know, but I think in my past 3 roles, and every of them have been event-based, it is very difficult that you're caught up in the event and doing it too. So I don't know if policy is the right word, but yeah, it needs to be forefront of someone else's task of the day or whatever. And I do it now. Like you're in it and you're pulling off the event, and it's hard to step back and do that. But yeah, I think between scheduled content and the frequency of content, you grow
And I think at some point we will.
or tagging the groups you're working
Oh,
with,
yeah,
or,
exactly.
you know,
Yep.
type thing. Yeah.
It's interesting because we have certain things that we've gotten used to at the men's breakfast. I don't attend the women's breakfast because that's a women's thing, I won't go. But we have the chef come out and do a joke every month.
Yeah, yeah.
It's become a routine.
Yeah.
You know, and she loves it, and she now vets the jokes before she does them, so that none of us get in trouble. But it's what people are looking for. And again, it's not a policy, you're right, but it's just, okay, that's one of my jobs if I'm gonna be here. You know, someone will take pictures that day, and we will get to a point of once a week, twice a week, posting content that people can see. And then we can look and say, hey, all right, I can share it. You know, if it's coming out of the COA and it's shareable, I think it's incumbent upon us, you know, as a board, to get that out there.
One thing Rosa has done that is, I never had the time to go and look at this level of detail, is she pays attention to which posts are viewed and shared. So that is data that Facebook will show you if you have a business page.
Yeah.
So she's been paying attention to that and has sort of narrowed a focus on what do people like, you know, what's been shared more often. There was a little,
Or the times that people look at your
Yeah.
recommended times
Yeah,
to post it.
yeah. So I think that's been helping. You know, she's sort of narrowing her focus. What do I need? You know, what's giving me the most bang for my buck,
Sure.
right? So I think that's been important to do.
And I apologize if I haven't seen it, but is she doing like creating the events in
So
there?
we do it both ways actually, because we still haven't really figured out which one is better. So there is a way to create an event, right? And then we can also just post a flyer, a photo of a flyer. It seems like the photos are shared more often so far, but that could be because we're not creating the events as frequently as we need to be. You can do both, but that becomes a little more time consuming. It's like I'd rather put something different on there than put the same information twice. So we're doing both and trying to figure out which is better.
Yeah, because the events, you know, I think because if people are searching on what's happening around you, more that sort of what
Sure,
to do,
yeah.
Right,
it will come up that way versus maybe finding a specific Facebook page. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think obviously every way has its.
Yeah.
Do you want to share anything?
No, the only thing that comes to my mind is I have a friend of mine who runs a daily trivia, and it really causes me to check it every single day.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah, okay, and I'm not necessarily promoting a daily trivia, but maybe a daily or weekly or some several day something that causes people to every day or every few days I check.
Uh-huh.
And respond,
Yeah.
hopefully.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that is.
That's where I think Jen brings in, you know, the frequency and the schedule, you know, of when we're gonna post stuff.
Yeah.
What the algorithms will do for all that social media, the more responses you get, the more people it exposes opposed to. So reels are important in our business. We do a lot of reels, do a social media. And the more that you get traction on that, it continues to expand who's getting it. Because anytime a post is sort of restricted to who gets it, where they're seeing it, you know, your friends, to the general public and so forth. But if you're doing to general public, the more you get interaction with something in the post, the more it distributes it.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it builds upon itself. And that's why I love the idea of both of you, almost a scheduled posting. And there's one, in industry sees someone do it, you know, the Friday Focus. You know, it's almost like the Harwich channel, but in broad social media, that it's, hey, this is what's coming up next week here at, you know, the Council on Aging.
I mean, you could do like this week at the
Right.
COA.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is something we've been doing more. I should say Rosa really has done it all.
But that, and you know what, it's an opportunity for her to say, have someone come in, you know, have John come in and talk, he's, you know, whatever, with the ice boats on Long Pond last week, or, you know, whatever it might be, that something coming up. Women's Breakfast is coming up Friday, and
Yeah.
we hope you've registered already. Don't forget, you have to register.
Yeah.
But I think that's the interaction and the personality, the personalizing it is so important. So, I think we need to continue talking about that, and I'd love actually maybe Rosa to come in next month and
Sure.
and
Yeah.
share some of the stuff she's doing, how she's doing it, and how you can put it into practice of either a scheduled frequency, and then we can see the traction that we're getting from it. Last thing we discussed at length last month was the mass mailing. And we were gonna try to get some more information on the mass mailings of, is it worthwhile? Are we getting a bang for a buck by doing it? Where are we getting the most bang for our buck in terms of value?
I agree, it's low on the priority list. It would take some time to organize the data, right? Especially if we wanna target a particular subgroup, like, people who seem to live alone, meaning there's not only one person registered at that address, people above a certain age or below a certain age. So that would be time consuming. I don't think it's the biggest bang for our buck, but it is possible to do. So I think keeping it on the table was my goal originally, but it's not something I'm committed to doing, if that makes sense.
Thoughts, comments?
Careful consideration. I think it'd work, but it's not.
Yeah, it could be something we leave, you know, on the back burner. We move on to other categories of recommendations, which is actually is what I started. I did put the next section I thought we'd be looking at here so that we could start that conversation
Sure.
if we got there. You know, we don't have to do everything in one section at the same time
Yep.
before we move on to something else. We can, you know, set our priorities and know that when we need to look back at outreach and information sharing, because we've gone as far as we can, we've got the next thing in line.
You want to speak?
Yeah, it was just, what came to my mind was relatively easy would be to attend, like the garden club has 140, 150 members in it. And there's sort of COA
adjacent.
type
Yeah.
people. And maybe a 5-minute presentation at one of their quarterly meetings.
Yeah.
And then other groups, I don't know if there's other clubs or groups, and that way you're really getting someone who's tied to the town, and also just a 5 or 10-minute presentation. I'm a little leery of the mass mailing.
Okay.
It just seems like people get so much junk mail that unless it's maybe a postcard with something on it very
Right.
quickly,
Right.
it's just going to get tossed.
I have attended the Harwich Newcomers and maybe the Garden Club. Either way, they would have both been a long time ago. I relatively recently came to a meeting of the Harwich Democrats. I was invited there. If I was invited to the Harwich Republicans, of course I would go, so no favoritism there. We've talked about trying to reach out to church groups. We've talked about that a lot, trying to get into their bulletins, and that's not something that we've actually gone back to and followed through with. And that would be my next goal in terms of outreach.
Having the RAC card, and once we get that done, and that's put in the list of priorities, that opens the door for that. It opens the door to say, hey, we've got a RAC card for the services from the Council on Aging, and I'm sure maybe your parishioners would enjoy it. That opens that door to the discussion. And if you have a weekly bulletin or information, we'd love to be a part of it, because we offer so many services for your congregation. That's a great way to do it. And that's the introduction that we can do. Hey, I've got 100 of these RAC cards, could we put it somewhere in your church? I think that's a great way to do it. But let's get back, I just want to tighten up, and frankly, whether we totally table it for a while or just take it off the table, is the mass mailing. Angie, any thoughts?
I would probably put it on the back burner, because I agree. I don't think I get a lot of junk mail, and as soon as I see it, so you're right. I think we should just kind of put it on the back burner, but I liked all the other approaches, going to some of these nonprofit big organizations, the churches, and people where there's a larger percentage of older people.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, vet out, I don't want to take it off either. It'd be nice to see how these, flush out, and how we reach, because we're trying to reach the most people we can reach, and these other ways aren't necessarily, right, the 100% answer, but yeah, is it worth it enough to do that in order to reach whatever that small percent might end up being? So, yeah, I think just with whatever you're doing with the building, between the collabing on programs with the other departments, if Rec wherever they will ever put out their own brochure, we have information in the community center brochure, we get it with Rec and youth and family, can we put stuff in the family pantry, just those partner people too to help,
Collaborate, absolutely. So I think,
yeah,
in
there's
general,
other more probably impactful ways.
and I think that's the key, impact and value.
Yeah.
What are we getting for, so let's just park it over that end of the table for a while and work on some of these other things. Okay, Julie, you wanted to start 1 or 2 more for today?
Well, maybe we could just at least introduce what we think is going to be the next area that we focus on, even if we don't get to the specific recommendations. So I went back to look at the rankings that we did, and the next in line was the umbrella category was increased awareness of programs and services. So that's, tied directly into that outreach and information sharing that we've just talked about, but now narrowing the focus to really getting the word out about specifically what do we offer and how is that helpful to people. So we can read through the recommendations here and maybe identify a couple that we want to focus on next month.
I think that's a great point, and it's very interesting. I also serve on the Charter Commission. It was a very, very lengthy discussion of town meeting, and you get a lot of interaction with people at a town meeting, 400 to 500 people who actually attend. But the problem is, probably 20 to 25% are aware of what's happening. People attend, and so the town is looking for outreach to do a pre-town meeting to try to train people. And I think it's on everyone's mind, that we need to get more information out to the residents of this community about what's being offered. And if people are coming to town meeting, it is truly, that is basic form of government, of decisions that are made. And as people talk about paying their taxes, well, you're making that decision on your own taxes because you're voting on these things at town meeting. It's the same as here, we need to get that out. Other services we're not providing. The more people that get here, the more that we get to participate. So I think if we can prep for next month, and again, we've been trying to take a half an hour focusing just on the needs assessment, and I want to continue doing that. So we'll move forward next month with that.
Okay, sure.
Alrighty. One thing I wanted to bring up that friends had asked me to address. I said we need to chat first. And this is from Bob Hamilton, the president of the Friends. In response to one of the findings of the Harwich Council on Aging's needs assessment, the Friends of the Harwich Council on Aging are seeking recommendations for handymen, electricians, plumbers, and other home repair types. We will compile this information to provide as a resource to older adults in Harwich. They wanted to post that out there on social media. They wanted to take that on. What I put a slowdown for Bob is that there are repercussions of doing that. And would you explain what our view is from the Council on Aging and what we can and cannot do?
So, I'll go backwards a little bit. So in the past, for most of the time that I've been employed at the Council on Aging, the town's position was they did not want us to give out resources. Even if we don't call it a recommendation, they would prefer that we not give out resources to people, because even if we say it's not a recommendation, that's what it sounds like. And there's some liability concerns associated with that. So what I have found a little frustrating over the years, though, is that some older adults, like they can't Google themselves on their own and find a list of service providers. There are no yellow pages anymore. And so if someone doesn't really know how to, or isn't comfortable looking up a list of providers themselves, they're really stuck. So I went to admin. I explained the situation just this way. I said, if we're careful about how we do it, we focus on what I suggested is distance to Harwich, right? Who are the service providers closest to us, so that we could explain how we came up with the list. So it sounds even less like, we're really emphasizing it's not a recommendation. This is distance based, and that we reserve it for times when people can't look it up themselves. So we say, you could Google this, right? And if they say, I can't do that, then we can offer this. And so administration said they are comfortable with us doing this. So we do have the permission to do this if we want to. Like you've brought up, if we give out a company and they have a bad experience, it could come back to us. I don't know how much of a concern that is, but it's obviously on the table.
Did Bob email because the town I work in now, they had to shift, and they are using the nonprofits to hand out those resources, so that the Friends can give out the resource list.
Okay.
But the town department isn't. Is that what he's asking, or is that?
Well,
I think that he's what's
they want to do. My reaction is great, but I want to make sure you don't inherit this liability, or if you do, that you're aware of it. And does any nonprofit has insurance for their officers and directors? So the members who sit on the Friends board are basically covered by an insurance policy. But if something does happen, they need to understand the implications. So I held them off until we could have a discussion here and then bring it back to them. And as long as they're aware of it, I'm fine. I'm in the business that I work with a lot of contractors. And I gave out 3 recommendations this week. It worked out fine. I've worked with these people. I've personally used them myself. And it's not come back, to bite me in the butt. But there are those who have. And I know who have been burnt by, well, I gave this name out and they did an awful job, or they tried to upsell me, or whatever it might be. We want to stay as wide away from that as we can. We don't want anything coming back to the Council on Aging. If Friends want to do it, I just want them aware of what the potential liability is.
But it is even mentioning the potential liabilities to them beyond our scope. In other words, if they're a separate organization, we would say you're free to roam and do whatever you want. it's outside of our scope. That's the only thing I'm concerned with.
I agree with that in general, however, Council on Aging is used 3 times. The Council on Aging is the department that's run by a director and staff. The Council on Aging, the board of directors of the Council on Aging, then the friends of the Council on Aging. A lot of times people don't know the difference of any of it. And it's just, oh, the Council on Aging gave me this, and again, people, if something were to come out from the friends, here's our brochure, or here are our contractor list that we recommend. They don't mention if there was a bad situation, it was the friends of the Council on Aging. Well, I got this information from the Council on Aging. That's why I just wanna be careful, that we,
Well, also it's there for them, whatever, it's their choice, they, whatever, but it impacts whatever. I mean, admin direct, like, did that come up as like a nonprofit type idea, like you could shift it to another, like another group could do it?
I mean, not for this
From their standpoint, like if they were worried about that?
So not for this specific topic. When has it come up? It hasn't been a concern if the nonprofit is doing something that we are not encouraged to do or not allowed to do. I don't remember if we talked about it with this because, you know, I got their blessing, so it didn't have to become a question. But in the past, the Friends have been able, a good example is the Friends can pay for a service that the town does not want us to pay for, right? Because of the liability concern. So the Friends are taking on that liability by, I mean, basically endorsing the service provider, right? They might connect them to the contractor and then they pay for it. So there's a great example is there was an electrician recently who did some work for somebody and the Friends were able to cover that. Whereas we would not have.
Angie,
I was just wondering, could somebody like the Chamber of Commerce, Howard Chamber of Commerce, list all the businesses, you know, these are the electricians, these are the plumbers, is that, so that's just a list?
they have a directory.
Or
They probably
online.
do,
They
but
have
you
a
can't
direct-
be a member. if you're
Right.
gonna
But
do
you
it,
have,
right?
yeah, okay.
So they
That
do
was-
have a directory, but here's the thing, the president, Bob Hamilton, asked me to bring it up
Yeah.
today. And they wanted our thoughts, because it's not imminent, they're gonna discuss it at their March meeting. And again, from our perspective, it's just, we've discussed it, you know, it's something that we don't feel real comfortable doing, but that if it's a nonprofit, it's up to you. Just understand whatever your implications may be. We, as the Council on Aging, do not wanna be impacted by it. Either the staff or the board.
One way the way we've gotten around this and tried to resolve the issue as best we can is so if someone says, you know, I can't search for this myself, I need help. We recommend that they go to the library because the library will help them make the search,
Sure.
right? And they can look at the results there. It's just that's not a solution for every person because it can be difficult for some people to get to the library. They're not as able to leave their home or it's just not a solution for everybody.
Sure.
And then, you know, obviously there's always the concern is how many people are you referring to another department, right? We want to be helpful directly and not have to send them to other places in town. And then we also have to make sure that the library can handle the number of people that we send their way, which so far it has not been so numerous that has become an issue.
What
Can
they're
you do it
doing.
here with these? Can you do it with these computers?
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Or at least,
Is
or
there-
with here, but didn't you say, I mean, you started this with saying that you've got approval to be able
Yeah.
to create something.
Right.
I mean, did you
Right.
say that you intended to go that route and we're just answering Bob's question at the same time?
So
Or-
we've already been doing the library thing for a long time.
No, but I
No,
mean,
but
creating
contractors.
the
Yes,
resource
and
list.
yeah, we have the permission to create the resource list to give it out. I did make a list based on distance, right, to see who I came up with, how many people are on that list. And you know, I did look at reviews to make sure that there was nothing egregious that was reported about somebody being negative, because that was part of the process that I said I would follow, is if we got negative feedback from somebody on our list, we would remove them, right? So we're not going out of our way to look for good feedback, but if we get the bad, we will remove them from the list because that's certainly reasonable, right?
Here's the thing, what Bob wants to do is just put a post out there saying, we're looking for recommendations. Just send us your email address, contractor information, and if available, comments regarding timeliness, quality of work, price, and skill set. It just creates a lot of, well, I had great experience with so-and-so. Or I used Jen Anderson, and she was wonderful for, painting my house, whatever it might be. It's very subjective, for people. And I just don't want staff or this board being impacted. If they want to do it, that's fine. In my reaction. But I don't want us to be implicated by it. Because again, it's not, well, the Friends of the Council on Aging gave me this recommendation. It's gonna be the Council on Aging gave me this recommendation. I
I
think
know,
we-
it sounds like they're trying to source information just like any of like the town, not town Facebook pages, like the local group town pages where people are like, hey,
Yeah.
blah, 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 I used whatever, and they're just talking amongst themselves. Like, it sounds like he's trying to get a little more of like a,
So
just a
I think
people talking maybe, but it sounds like
my-
both can happen. I mean,
Yeah. My primary concern around this issue has always been, yes, if we give out a list of contractors or service providers, yes, we are opening ourselves up to that person coming back and saying, I had a bad experience and you're the reason, right? You're at fault. But what happens already very, very often is people come to us asking for help, asking for this list of resources, and we say we can't give it to them. And they're already upset with us. So we're upsetting hundreds of people a year as it is to avoid the risk of one person being upset with us.
I get it. And if Friends does do something and say they put out a rack card, it's real simple. Well, the Friends of Council on Aging will compile that for you. It's not us in particular. We do a lot of good work. The staff does a lot of good work. The board does a lot of good work. I don't want to see it jeopardized. That's all. And I think it's. I'll bring this information back to Bob. I'll give it the next meeting of our discussion today. It's their choice to do it, as long as it does not impact us. And if it's on there, if they're doing a list, that it's okay. Here's the list provided by the Friends of the Harwich Council on Aging, not impacting us, not impacting you. And then again, it becomes a third party for the department. You're not doing it. You're giving out something that's been compiled by someone else. So it shields that liability. Thing is, it's not, anyone can get sued. It's just, anyone can get sued. And it's not pretty when you go through it. So you want to be careful not to do that. But if you're using a third party, and the Friends are a third party, they carry the name Council on Aging, Harwich Council on Aging, but they are not truly an organization of the town. They're their own nonprofit. So that's fine. If they understand their implications, they want to do it, provide you a list, a rack card, whatever it might be, I think it's better for you. It's better for the department. It's better for us. So we'll bring it back to them next month. All right, we're past our time, but I will go around. Jen, anything for today? Angie, anything else?
No, good. Thank you, everyone.
Linda?
Thank you. No more snow, please.
May not work this weekend.
3
Okay.
days before they get plowed out.
Judy, anything? I'm sorry, Julie, anything else?
Nothing else.
Okay, great. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So
So be it.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Any
Aye.
opposed? Thank you all.
Sorry.